The next control structure I want to introduce is the case statement, which is a sort of super if statement. It effectively lets you select between any number of code branches based on a set of tests. It has two forms.
The first looks generally like this. The words case of, followed by a body in parentheses, containing one or more expressions, each prefixed by a test expression in parentheses. MaxScript runs through the tests until it finds the first one that evaluates as true, and then executes the following expression. As an example, let's make a generalization of the very first if statement I presented. Here it is again, a simplistic level of detail script that sets an object segment count based on its distance from a given camera. I would like to improve on this so that it handles multiple distance ranges and sets different segment counts for each of them. Here is the revised code using a case construct. I've embedded it in a for loop running over all the geometry in the scene so we can set the segment count for all the objects in one go. First, I grab the current loop object's distance from the camera into a local variable d to make the following tests simpler to write. Then I set up the distance range tests as separate cases inside the case body. MaxScript proceeds through the tests in order. So, if the distance is less than or equal to 50, the segment count is set to 40, and the case is exited. Otherwise, if the distance is less than 120, it must be between 51 and 120, and the segment count is set to 25, and so on. The last case label, default, is recognized specially to mean do this expression if none of the others are selected. So let's try this on our scene. And as you can see, spheres at different distance breaks have the appropriate segment counts set. The second form of the case is a simplification that selects one of the branches based on a single selection value. It has the general syntax shown here. The main expression is evaluated and then compared one by one with the case label values. When one matches, its branch expression is executed and the case exits. As an example, let's look at a code fragment from a scripted tool that generates randomly placed clones of a picked object. As you can see, it lets you pick a scene object with this pick button, choose the type of clone that you want with these radio buttons, set copy parameters, and create the random clones. The clone type radio buttons are specified using this radio buttons rollout control definition. You supply an array of label strings, one for each radio button in the set. The currently selected radio button is accessible in the .state property on the control as an index number into the labels array. So in this case, clone type .state would be 1 if instance was selected, 2 if reference was selected, or 3 if copy. To implement the clone inside the create button handler, I use a case expression like this. The case selection value is the clone type radio button's state, and the branch labels are the possible values of that state, the indexes into the labels array. So the case will select the branch matching the current state of the radio buttons, and the variable newObj will be assigned the newly instanced or referenced or copied clone using the appropriate built-in cloning function.